Hello together, this is Mikey.
And I'm Kitty.
And we're Watcher's Gift here with a special episode talking about women in competitive SMITE playing. And we actually brought some guests to speak about this topic with us. And here they are.
Hey everyone, this is Power to Mario.
And I'm the Pasta King.
Yes.
Or am I?
No, you're dead.
You're right. I'm a zombie.
Yes.
Ooh. Okay. So today, lovely Kitty will be the moderator. And we're going to just suggest just start with giving us an overview about the topic.
Right. So, a few days ago, HiRez 2, so one of the HiRez people, made a topic on Reddit for his daughter mostly, or about his daughter, because he felt like, and I quote, SMITE was a sausage fest, specifically in League, and he wanted to know what he can do to basically animate his daughter or encourage her to join, because she doesn't see the same chances that his son does. And this is how the whole thing started. And since we're all SMITE players, for quite a while actually, we all have opinions.
Yeah, that's very true. I would suggest one of you guys, being the guests, actually have the honor of speaking the first words.
Tommy.
You're me, PK.
Tommy,
You go.
have opinions.
You go, sir. I am a gentleman.
Okay, so I guess I'll just restate the question. So Stu is asking, what is the best way to solve the issue of bringing more women to the level where they're, competing at the same level as all the SMITE Pro League players are?
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, if you look at the barrier for entry for games like SMITE, League of Legends, Dota 2, Heroes of New Earth, Heroes of the Storm, all those different MOBAs, unless you have a crappy computer, there's no barrier for entry for anybody. So it's very easy to get into a game and play it and learn the mechanics, learn the meta, learn how everything works. And if you spend enough time on it, you'll get pretty decent at it, to the point where people won't blame you all the time for losing. They'll blame everybody. So you'll be a part of that collective blame. So I think one of the questions in that Reddit thread that Stu posted, one of the big questions was, is gameplay blind to gender?
Mm-hmm.
For video gaming, I wanted to make a contrast between that and actual athletic gaming. And here in the United States, I know there's going to be some European and other continental players, but the sport American football is probably the most obvious example for us. It's a very, very muscular, speed-driven sport where you have to be fast, you have to have quick instincts, you have to have brute strength to stand a chance in the game. And if you look at anatomical differences between men and women, there's obviously that divide there.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at more finesse sports like tennis or soccer or football, it's called football in the rest of the world, we call it soccer. Baseball, golf, where it's more precision, more finesse, more flexibility. You don't really need massive muscle to compete in those areas. There's even divisions between men and women in those sports. Every single one of them. There's a PGA Tour, and then there's the WPGA Tour for women's. There's men's tennis, women's tennis, even in the international tournaments like Wimbledon, US Open, Australian Open.
Mm-hmm.
So in the physical sport world, there's that clear difference because of just how men and women's bodies work. It's genetics. Right. But in esports, that doesn't that part of the equation doesn't play in. So when you enter SMITE, when you enter the world of SMITE, you are essentially anonymous until you get to the point where you're very skilled enough that you start competing semi-professionally, professionally, and you need to actually communicate with players. Mm. And there was one post, I don't remember who posted it. I want to see if I can have the name here. Okay, it was the user, is it Mir Byro, I think it was. on the Reddit thread, said that she's pretty competent at Smite, and when they introduced Curse Voice, is when a lot of things changed for her as a gamer.
Yeah.
She started communicating on voice chat, and when everyone realized that she was a girl, impressions completely took a 180. Unfortunately, with that team, it took a 180. We played, all of us have played, me, Pasta King, Slim Kirby. We've all played with both you two, Goro and Kitty, and we have a girl on our team, and you're a competent player, you're good at a lot of things, you're bad at a lot of things, just like everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, a lot of people in the Smite world and in the MOBA world in general, I saw this so much with League of Legends too, it's the same across the board, where we get into this mindset that, okay, because she's a woman, she's going to make particular mistakes more often than men do.
Yeah.
And in this type of setting, that excuse doesn't fly.
Mm-hmm.
So, but ultimately, Stu's question was, how can we make it so that women are more prominent in professional gaming? It's the ultimate question. And that's all I have to say for my introduction statement. I'll leave the rest to PK.
Cool. All right. Now, I'm going to be a little real here. No, make that really real. Yeah, that sounds ridiculous, but it pretty much describes what I'm about to say.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest and look at what's going on here. The problems female gamers suffer in Smite, they're still holdovers from the greater problem with video game culture. Mm-hmm. Despite all the progress that has been made at integrating females into gaming, it is still primarily an old boys club, especially for genres like MOBAs and fighting games.
Yep.
It's still pretty inhospitable for them. Not because, they can't cut it, because they definitely can. It's like what PTM said. You don't need massive muscles, you don't need athleticism. It's all about your mind, your skills.
Mm-hmm.
Could a woman conceivably be a pro-level player at Smite? Of course! That is not even a question. Nobody's questioning that. But, can a woman, survive the social cesspool that is a MOBA? That's a completely different question. And, we can't just magically change people and say, oh, okay, girls, you can come on in and play Smite. It's all good. We perfectly accept you. No, it's this runs deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
And this might sound like a shot being fired, but okay, this is really dangerous ground I'm treading into right now. I am not. Before I say this, let me claim that I am not a sociologist. Mm-hmm. I am not a psychologist. I haven't done surveys or studies, so don't take what I say to be scientific fact. But for what I've observed, women on average are less competitive than men.
Mm-hmm.
And in a genre like MOBAs, these are really, really competitive games. Like, you gotta have a competitive drive to, fight other players, prove you're better than them, constantly scratch and claw to the top. And not very many women have that personality type, that competitive, aggressive type where they constantly want to better their skills.
Mm-hmm.
From what I've seen, women prefer to be more cooperative and supportive. Once again, I'm not trying to act like a scientist here. But yeah, like the team aspect of these games does often draw women, but do they often stick it out and play something like League's Conquest? Not really. And it's because of what I just said. Most women just aren't competitive enough. Now, I really hope I'm wrong about this, and that the really competitive women are, not getting into Smite because the community is not hospitable yet. I really hope that's the case.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
What are your thoughts?
So basically, what I think it's basically this is I'm probably gonna chime in a bit into what Nima just said, or PTK. This is a problem that stems from the problem with women equality in our everyday life and social structures. It's like if you look at a company and you look at hierarchies and you look who's leading companies, and it's a mostly male-dominated thing, and you could actually argue that this whole thing of aggressiveness and wanting to compete actually chimes into this. Basically, what I think we're seeing here in SMITE is the same phenomenon happening on a kind of like a smaller scale. It's just it's kind of like a projection of what we're seeing in everyday life, just projected on a smaller scale. And I think this might also be a vector to solve the solution, but just looking at what we're doing in everyday life to make men and women more equal, and take those approaches and adapt them and maybe put them into an environment in SMITE where we can actually basically give everyone the same chances. Mm-hmm. It's just I'm not here to say we need to force more women to play competitive SMITE, because that won't work anyway. And it's just but I have a feeling a lot more women would play competitive SMITE, or play competitive whatever, or just be competitive at a higher level, if they weren't treated like women.
Mm-hmm.
As in, I remember reading on the Reddit topic that a girl actually, once the teammates found out that she was a girl, they weren't rude or anything, but what they started doing, they were being over-caring. They were oh my god, it's a girl, we need to protect her, we need to gank her lane all the time. And basically what happened, she said, they took all my farm away and I couldn't really be viable in my role. So what I feel we need to do is it's a big thing, but we need to get players to stop treating women as women.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's this is a SMITE player. It's regardless which gender they are. They're filling a role, be it ADC or support or solo or mid lane, and judge them by what they're doing. And of course, everyone does mistakes, and calling out mistakes in a helping manner, not in a insulting manner, should always be the case. I'm not saying don't call out on people who are doing mistakes. That would be ridiculous. But it's just people tend to go the way that's not constructive criticism, but more oh yeah, no wonder you're playing bad, you're a girl.
Mm-hmm.
It's no, if someone's building wrong or bad, or needs to adapt the build, you need to tell them, dude, maybe you need more pen, or maybe you need more, I don't know, defenses because of reasons. And so I actually, like I said, I want maybe to try and adapt real life solutions to the problems. I'm gonna go into a bit more detail that, but first let's have your starting thoughts, Kitty.
Yes, because I have personal experience.
Yes, that's actually
being a girl and stuff.
an advantage for all of us, really.
Well, it's an advantage for this podcast, but not so much in general.
True that.
So, it's true. I've had this happen to me, that people have treated me, I would say, normal, like anybody else, really. And especially when Curse came in more frequently because of the Apollo skin, or just, the gems and all that great stuff, people obviously found out I'm a girl, right? And the reactions ranged extremely but in most cases it was more negative than positive. There was this one match I was in where somebody was saying that I'm playing bad. And once he found out I'm a girl, he's like, oh, no wonder. And I'm like, wow, did you really just go there? Then we had this other guy who tried to teach me some League, like what you build and that kind of stuff. And he actually used the argument of me being a girl that, for the fact that I'm not that great as any other guy, even the worst guy, basically. And I'm just like, really? Did you just go there? Like, it's really rude. And there's also been less extreme reactions, like that somebody found out that I'm a girl, and then they shoot me a friend request, basically just because of my gender. And I'm like, I mean, that's not that bad, but it's still kind of rude because it's just based on my gender. That's something I can't even influence. As far as I know, anyway. I don't know, maybe when we're born we can pick genders, or... I don't remember picking it, so I'm gonna say that I didn't pick it. And it's just dumb to treat somebody either better or worse based on their gender. I feel like I just want to be a Smite player and not, oh, she's a girl or some crap. Especially if it's that extreme. I mean, one of the examples in the thread was extreme, where somebody found out she's a girl, and then they basically said, no, they didn't just basically say, they said flat out, they started calling her whore, bitch, and one of them even said that they hope she gets raped by a guy so she can be put in her place. And I'm like, wow, that's very, that's lovely. Very lovely. The other thing that happens, and that I've experienced myself, is that when people hear you, they either just leave the chat completely, like, ugh, or they ask you if you're really a girl. I've had people ask me if I'm transgender.
Wow.
So
Interesting.
it's like, even if I were, what does it matter? Like,
Yeah, why does it matter?
I mean, if I might chime in here for a second. I mean,
Sure.
Obviously, we're talking about women getting into Smite, but just as a quick side note, of course, we do realize that there's more than two genders. There's this whole spectrum of genders, basically. And where applicable, like, for example, for some, like for transgender, where that person might also feel kept out of competitive play, all what we're talking about also applies to those people. So we're not, while it's easier to talk in this binary gender thing, men, women, please do know that we're also keeping you guys in mind.
Well, the reason we're mostly talking about girls is because Stu specifically asked for his daughter.
But I think it's reasonable to actually extend the discussion and go beyond the initial topic a bit.
Yeah.
At least in that regard.
Well, I've personally not seen too many issues with gay friends I'm having, or transgender, just mostly girls, personally.
Okay, so please continue.
That's pretty much most of what I've experienced. It really sucks. I want to kind of go further here in the thread.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah?
Oh, I said go ahead.
Because somebody said, some people started to make suggestions as to what can be improved. Because Stu specifically asked, is there something that HiRez can, do to make more girls join? And a lot of replies, well, most of the replies, in fact, were, no, HiRez can't do anything, first of all, which is something I want to discuss later on, because I don't feel like that, And the other thing is that a lot of people said, well, you just need a really thick skin. I see a lot wrong with that statement.
Yes, I agree.
Yes.
The thick skin isn't gonna help you, I would say. if people tell you stuff like, I hope you get raped, that's pretty extreme. And I know you can mute people, but in game modes like Conquest, that's death, pretty much. Let's be honest. If you don't even hear incoming enemy, or, that's like, well, shit.
Yeah. I mean, you need to coordinate too. It's like, in the end, especially in the late game where you just like trying to stay together, and maybe you want to actually do a split push, you need to coordinate all that stuff, and it's like, communication is key.
Yeah, so people just mute people. I mean, in Arena, sure. Assault, yeah. Anything else? And League has Joust. Well, 1v1 Joust, so that's pretty okay, I guess. But the 5v5 Conquest, yeah, that's not how it works. And honestly, I don't feel like people should be exposed to stuff like, I hope you get raped, or anything on that line. That shouldn't even happen. So the thick skin is, it was a nice suggestion, I guess. But I don't feel like it's that easy. Like, if you're on the receiving end pretty much every day, all the time, it's not just, even if you have a thick skin, it's not gonna do. Because sooner or later, you're just gonna really break down or something. So I felt like those people meant really well, but they don't really know what they're talking about. Because if you're a guy, nobody tells you to get raped, I don't think. At least I haven't seen it.
I've never experienced it so far.
I'd like to talk a little bit about that for a moment.
Yeah.
Thick skins and muting.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad that a requirement to play and enjoy a game like Smite is having a thick skin. Why?
I know, right?
Why should being a part of a game's community be so painful that you need a thick skin? Now, don't get me wrong, having a thick skin is a valuable asset in life.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody, whether you're male, female, or whatever, you need a thick skin. It'll only help you in life, because even as we, constantly work towards, the ideal good life, there's still going to be bad stuff. There's always going to be bad shit.
Yeah. And
you got to be able to endure that. So yeah, you should have a thick skin when playing Smite, but that doesn't solve the problem.
No.
It doesn't solve the problem at all. Having a thick skin does not make the Smite community better. And
no.
Why should we have to mute people? Why should we have to do that? Like, why is if a game has enough bad situations for you to feel compelled to mute someone, that's bad. Alright? We need to. And you know what? This is gonna sound pretty harsh to a lot of players. And these players know who they are. But a lot of Smite players, hell, a lot of video gamers in general, have serious social issues.
Mm-hmm.
I mean it, man. It's like some of them don't even know how to talk to women, or even people, period. It's like, do you even have interpersonal skills whatsoever? Like, who raised you? Who taught you? Are these actual human beings we want in our society? What are they? Well, it's like, games like Smite, free-to-play games in general, they have a way of attracting all sorts of people. They attract a lot of good people, and they attract the dregs of society.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, jeez, you really get a sense, a small sense, but still a sense, of how ugly the world can be when you're playing a free-to-play game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm serious. It's like, how did these people come about? It's like, who failed them? Who failed them? I wish everybody was raised by a good family and got good education and had good people surrounding them in general, like good friends and mentors and whatnot, but the sad truth of it is, a lot of people don't. And they end up like this, and they go on a game like Smite, and then they tell a girl, I hope you get raped, or they tell a gay gamer, you're a queer, get out of my game, get out of my life. It's bad, man. It's like, that's another unfortunate thing. HiRez can only do so much. They are not parents, they are not teachers, they are not social workers. It's like, a lot of these problems girl gamers are facing, they're problems with society.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I have to say about that for now.
Yep, I'm pretty much right in line with you guys on the whole thick skin issue. And all of that places the burden of trying to change on the victim of whatever kind of verbal assault's going on. And unfortunately, MOBAs and fighting games and online first-person shooters like Call of Duty and Battlefield those are probably the 3 genres that have the highest percentage of misogynists that play online. That absolutely care nothing about how other people feel or how their experience is going other than themselves.
Yeah.
And that's obviously HiRez is not a moral authority figure. They're like the executive branch. They're there to provide a good gaming experience and to enforce their code of conduct. And they're not parents. They're not caretakers. That's not their job, like the PK said. And we shouldn't expect that from them. That burden falls on the community at large to realign their moral compasses and relearn what it means to, at the very least, tolerate each other and cooperate in a game. And then if the game ends up in a loss, then that's where the thick skin issue comes in. It's not necessarily, okay, I should be ready to get horrendously assaulted by gross words from other people. It's to understand that you're going into a game where you're competing, and if you're not in a constant state where you're looking to self-criticize and improve your gameplay, and you fall behind, then people are going to speak up about it. And whether or not those people are rude or not is that part's out of your control, unless you're leading by example. If someone else does crappy and you do a good job and your team still loses, then that's the point where, okay, am I going to, in love, say, hey, you could have done this better? Or say, hey, would you like some advice? And if they don't want the advice, then don't give it. Unsolicited advice is just stop doing it, guys. Because I don't want to hear every time I play a Conquest game that you didn't farm enough creeps, when I'm fairly aware that that can be a reason why I lost. But then the other reason could be, well, we just didn't have really great team synergy. The jungler might not have gone to the proper lane at the right time, or may not have responded to a threat that he should have responded to. That's another thing, passing the blame on other people. So it's more than just the whole men treating women badly issue, but it's just how we treat each other on Smite is just really terrible. And PK knows this from League of Legends, because League of Legends is the MOBA that I'm most exposed to. I've played it for 4 years, and I played competitively on Ranked for about 2 of those years. Not on any major teams. Our ELO was high gold. That's as far as we ever got. And funny enough, that's the same ELO that one female team, League of Legends team Siren, had. Yeah. Remember that team?
I do. Yeah.
That was one of the League of Legends didn't really directly sponsor that team, but they kind of pushed them because this was an issue they tried addressing years ago. And the problem with that whole venture, first of all, it was an all-female team.
Oh.
That's already bad news, because there's not a good chance that you're going to have the right personalities on the team balancing each other out, keeping each other accountable. The other issue with the team is they pushed themselves out as a high-level team, and the highest level at the time was Diamond tier. There was not a Master tier or anything. And individually they were that good, but as a team, they were only high gold, about as high as my competitive team was. And so they not only got chewed out because competitively they were subpar, but synergy-wise, their communication, it was a lot of negative crap. And not just from the leader of the team, but all this stuff. And so I think a lot of the negative perspective on females in competitive gaming, especially in MOBAs, can be attributed to a lot of the experiences that League of Legends has, because Smite came after. So we, as a League of Legends player, I'm like, okay, so all-female team, probably not going to work out so well. But that doesn't necessarily mean women can't be at that level. They just simply aren't. And part of that issue is, okay, we need to treat women better, but other side is, well, there's not a lot of women participating in it. And I think we're about to get into some other reasons outside of behavioral issues why that might be the case.
Yep. Well, what, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I actually wanted to add a bit on what Tommy just said. And you said, like, we as a community need to do something, and that's where one of the tools that the MOBA that got actually, unfortunately, discontinued, Dawngate, had. And what it had is, at the end of the game, you had some kind of karma system where you could reward. That's the important bit. It was not about punishing players who behaved badly. It was about rewarding players who stood out as an example. It's like, okay, so basically the game, after the game ended and before you got to the start screen, the game asked you, which players did you feel enhanced your game experience? You could also pick players from the enemy team, because what Smite doesn't have is actually some kind of global chat that game had it. And for example, if people felt sorry if you had to disconnect, or if they congratulated you for a really, really good escape or stuff like that, then you could actually reward the enemy team for being nice. It's like, and I feel like, for example, like, yeah, sure, we have the report system, which I think should be there, and it's important to report people who are misbehaving. But what we actually need is a system to reward good behavior.
Yeah. And League of Legends had something very similar to that called honor. You could award honor based on how well they did as far as their gameplay, or how well they communicated, with how good their teamwork was, or if they were helpful in helping you figure out parts of the game, like what items to build or whatever. I think there was 3 different types of honor you could receive, and your reward, if you got enough honor points within a certain time frame, was, I think there's like a symbol or a logo or emblem or a special banner that you could get around your title card for that. And another thing that League has that I'm not sure, I don't know if Smite has or not, was called, I wanted to know your opinion, PK, on the Tribunal.
Ooh, the
from
Tribunal.
League of Legends. I guess essentially what that was a way for players to go onto the League of Legends website and to peer review reports that came in from other players. And whichever, and you had to basically decide whether or not you should ban or punish the players being reported or not, if you thought that was a case where they should have.
Right.
Well, my thoughts on the Tribunal are as follows. In its original form, it was chaotic and ineffective. They really, really need to put more safeguards into it, because would you honestly trust 10 random players from the League of Legends community to review your case? I mean, really?
Nope.
Nope. There needs to be more regulation on it, like only players who've accumulated a certain amount of honor can be on the Tribunal. You know, players who have proven to have good sportsmanlike behavior time and time again. I don't know if they're doing anything like that right now. I don't know what the current status of the League of Legends Tribunal is, but I really hope they do something like that, because you gotta have responsible judges. Just like in real life. You don't want your judge in a court case to be some, whiny 12-year-old brat who, calls people faggots.
Yeah, goes on Call of Duty, calls you dirty wanker.
Yeah.
Excuse my language.
Oh, God.
That was, yeah. That's just not a good experience. And yeah, it's something I would love to see Smite have, something very similar, where because they have so many players, millions of players, so there's too many players for the staff to keep track of. Yeah. So something that allows the community to get involved with that, for at least punishing the bad. I mean, I want, like Mikey was talking about earlier, we need something to reward the good players, to keep the good behavior going further. Because that's what we really want, is to outweigh the bad with more good. That's the only way that issue is going to solve, not conclusively solve, but get the most good out of people.
That's what I've actually been suggesting for the longest time. I keep mentioning this. There was this feedback form on Twitter like forever ago where you could suggest nerfs, buffs, anything else you wanted on Smite, and they also had a drop down with new features. And a karma system was one of them. And I'd be absolutely in favor of it, just to kind of keep track of who's actually a complete douche and who's not. And I keep telling them that instead of doing all those gem events where you get so many gems for each one of the day, which always promotes extremely rude behavior, if you guys have ever been on one of these events, because people just surrender at like 10 because they're like 2 points behind and crap, and because they want to get their gems and stuff. I would really like if they made an event that has to do with kindness somehow, and a karma system, or what you just mentioned from that other game, would be really great.
Honor, yeah.
Yeah. Because I feel like, I don't know, they keep saying HiRez can't do anything and HiRez aren't parents and, teachers and whatnot, but if they'd promote kindness and just that kind of stuff a bit more in some way, for example with a karma system and with events that go into it somehow, that could help. I'm not saying it's gonna make everything disappear, but we need to start somewhere, and lay like first stones for the foundation and stuff. Otherwise nothing's gonna happen.
And I agree. I mean that could totally evolve into something bigger. I mean, like, this kind of is a bit out of the scope of what we're talking, but if you start with the karma system, you can start maybe with a mentoring system where experienced players can set themselves up, like, okay, I want to flag myself as a mentor, and new players can I want a mentor, and then they get like somehow paired together via the game, and then the mentor receives reward for actually mentoring the newer player. And it's like I said, this is a bit out of the scope of the video, but all of the things of building a great community, that's things that HiRez can do, and that's things that start small. And I think a karma system would be small enough to be easily implemented. You'd have to figure out what rewards to give for people with karma. Maybe favor, maybe gems, I don't know. One would have to figure that out. But it has to be substantial enough that you actually... Well, of course you shouldn't want the karma, but that's how you kind of get people into behaving, really.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yep. So, I mean, people who already behave to just like get their karma. But if we can get people to realize that it's for their own good, if they're nice, then we're already one step forward into solving the problem.
And a bunch of steps away from more rape wishing.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
I really like what you said about the mentoring system. Some kind of mentoring system would be really cool. It would provide an outlet for players who are actually seeking advice to get it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that goes back to what you said, BTM. Unsolicited advice. Nobody likes it.
And you know what? It's I had my League of Legends competitive experience was spent a lot with a specific gaming community called Madcast Gaming. And for the community, not for the game, for the community itself, if you wanted to become a part of them, you had a 30-day candidate period where you were assigned one of the actual community members as a mentor, where they would basically initially introduce you to the community, go through the code of conduct, what's expected, and once you had that candidacy, if you had to make yourself known to the community, basically, you had to start getting yourself involved. And it's whatever you put in, you get out of it. And if the community members at the end of the candidacy, if they see that you're not a good fit for them, then in a private forum, they'll tell you, they'll say whether or not they think you should go or not. And then the senior mods and the administrators will make a decision. And so what that did is it essentially kept out, for the most part, kept out all the negative people who wanted to troll and just make everything a bad experience. It didn't keep everyone negative out, because eventually there's going to be issues that are they'll be far more complex, bigger issues than just he called me a bad name and he said I was going to get raped. Something it didn't ever get down to something like that. It was just very deeper, complex personality issues, like how they wanted one event to run or one tournament to run. Just stuff like that.
Okay.
Mentorship, good.
Yeah, I've said that before. I would personally have a lot of fun because I've got a lot of friends into SMITE, and I had so much fun teaching them. Sometimes I also teach random people. It's kind of neat.
I mean, that's what really is really nice. Like Curse Voice already gives us a nice outlet, because it actually automatically connects you with people who are in your team. We just need to use that for our advantage. It's just so little extra work that needs to be done.
Yeah, it is.
It's like we have all the tools in place, basically. We just need to start using them as assembling something together to make a better community.
Yeah. And since we're talking of stuff that could be improved to make things easier for people and girls, obviously, too.
Yes.
There was one thing I feel like HiRez could do to maybe get more girls or more people in general into League. It's actually very simple. I'm surprised nobody thought of that. Personally, when I tried League, I've played a few, like a handful of jousts, which is 1v1, and one single conquest. The reason being because they bitched at me, obviously. Like, hardcore. Like, gang rape style. And I feel like, you know how the SMITE YouTube channel has the series with Trendkill called Know Your Enemy?
Yeah.
Where they explain every single character. Okay, I feel like what they should do to make it easier for girls, or even just in general for people to get into League, is to make a series. It could be made by Drybear, Bart, maybe even Trendkill, or somebody completely different, doesn't matter. It would be cool if they had a League series that explains you, for example, they could bring it out every month or whatever, it doesn't matter really, however often the meta changes. Like what gods are being played a lot right now, and then it can cross-link to Trend's Know Your Enemy episodes, like how do you counter-build them, or how do you play them, or how do you face them. And just if they gave you tips, like a tutorial series on how to even play League, because me personally, I always had an issue in terms of, okay, which item should I build first, what's best and stuff, and so I ended up losing, and it was just extremely frustrating because people would just stomp you, and I'm just like, crap, because I want to play League, it's just I don't have no idea how. So an in-house, quote-unquote in-house tutorial series with the current god meta, or how to build, how to play strategies, which item to build first and whatnot. That would be extremely helpful.
Ooh, I'd like to speak about that real quickly.
Yeah.
Also, if I'm... Oh, sorry.
Oh,
no, sorry, I missed you. Just please go.
Oh, okay, it's okay. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and say who I want to say. No problem. Yeah. I think it would be great to have tips about surviving in the League's Conquest meta to be consolidated on YouTube, in the form of a video or maybe multiple videos. That would be great. But I do want to point out that a lot of streamers on the official Smite Game Twitch channel, they do offer a lot of good tips on Conquest play in general. And a lot of them will answer your questions if you ask.
Well, personally, I'd like to have videos so I can go look them up, every time and stuff, as opposed to having to follow streams or look up builds or whatever, because they change again.
Yeah. Well,
I totally understand. It's just that I just wanted to point that out there, that HiRez does, give advice in some capacity.
Right.
I guess there's two things. If you're already into League and already know what you're doing, I guess you can use those advice from streamers or like just looking up stuff on the internet better. But I think what Kid is actually aiming at is extremely new players. Like, for example, I myself haven't played League so far because I'm not yet gotten to level 30. But,
not quite.
Well, not quite, but I plan to, and it's just like, it already feels overwhelming because this is it's like, oh my god, this is like completely different. I've never played a game like this, and I have played Conquest before, and I get like basically you play Conquest, but it is still something really overwhelming for a player who hasn't played League at all. Like, maybe if you played it in different MOBAs, you're more comfortable with it, but for me, who I really haven't played competitive in any kind of MOBA, I'm looking forward to it, but it is already a bit overwhelming. It's like I have the feeling like I have to sit down and do tons of research before even going into the first match. And I feel like, yes, you should do tons of research if you want to be a good competitive player, but not to get into competitive playing.
Right.
When you say League, are you talking about just the Conquest map, or are you talking about the actual transition into casual Conquest versus you're going to get a rank assigned to you Conquest?
The SMITE League.
Yeah, I'm talking about like the rank assignment thing.
Okay.
There's Joust and Conquest right now, so.
Oh yeah, well, I was mainly focusing on Conquest.
Both is complicated.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. And that's why I said earlier, I agree that there should be a lot of this information consolidated into the form of YouTube videos. Like, I just imagine, like, an official HiRez tutorial about how to get started in League's Conquest.
Mm-hmm. You know what the funny thing is? Oh, keep going.
Oh, no, I was done on that thought.
The funny thing is, I have encountered some girls on Smite, and I've asked if they play League, because I was curious. And in fact, most of them said they never touched it because it's too confusing.
Huh.
Too overwhelming. So, HiRez, make a series, please.
Well, what did they say was confusing about it?
Just, they didn't know where to even start. In terms of what god, which items, what to even do. And they also said that the rudeness in there is just incredible. So I feel like a tutorial series could help, and that karma/honor system could help. I'm not saying it's going to take care of every problem ever, but I feel like we'd see more girls on there with that. And what helps too is the new patch where you can duo queue now. Yes. Woohoo!
Yes, that's actually really, really neat. I mean, just knowing that there's one person, even like, let's assume things do get ugly, then there's at least one person who stands by you and can actually, even if you're like, you get offended and you don't even know what to say, the other person says like, dude, stop.
Right.
And well, that might not help, but it's still a lot of comfort for the person being assaulted, being it a girl or someone else. Just knowing that there's support to be had. It's like, even if nothing happens at all, just knowing that if something were to happen, you'd have someone who stands by your side. is really, really great. So I think that's already one thing they did that is going to help the issue a lot.
Yeah.
Yep,
Especially for me personally.
it definitely will. And League of Legends introduced, correct me if I'm wrong, Nima, I think they introduced duo queue in season 3? It's either late in 2 or 3.
Yeah, I'm not sure when it was introduced either. I got into the game, first got into the game late in season 2, so.
Okay.
And I didn't even touch duo queue until season 3, so yeah.
Okay.
Completely unsure.
Whenever they introduced it, there was a measurable difference in win percentage between those people who went into solo queue versus pairing up with somebody. You win more games if you're in duo queue. One of the great things about duo queue is you can pair up with people and basically carry the other person up to the level of skill where they should be versus where they're at currently, because my skill level starting out in ranked, I actually started out bronze 4. That was my starting skill level. That's actually the worst difficulty, because when you're in bronze 5, you're a troll pretty much. That's how it was in League. If you were a bronze 5, you were a bronze 5 troll. And I eventually worked my way up to silver 1, but my actual statistical ELO was gold 1. So, and the reason for that is because when you hit, there's going to be, it's the same thing with SMITE League, there's going to be that barrier that you hit where you're going to run into all the people that think they know how to play the game and think they're better than everyone else, and that attitude just makes every game a coin flip, essentially. So you have to hope that there's either another person on the other team that's being just as toxic, or you have to hope that you're put on a team that isn't the toxic team. And then once you get over that hurdle, then the experience will turn into less of a toxic one and more of you actually need to understand all the nuances of the game before you can advance. And that's one of the things that Mikey said earlier about, it feels like it's overwhelming because you have to do all this research beforehand. It's not he probably doesn't share this opinion, but honestly, if you're going to change your game from normal queue conquest to league conquest, you absolutely must play differently. You cannot approach it the same way as normal queue, because that's a whole different game experience for people. And if you're going into league queue just to casually, have a good time and see where you land, see where, throw a dart and see where you're landing at, that's honestly taking away the competitive experience from other gamers, because their goal, there could be 4 other people on the team that their goal is to win the game, do well, and place into a division that's high enough where they can have a chance at getting to the high level. And if there's one person on the team that does not have that same mindset, then it destroys a lot of that team synergy and chemistry.
Actually, I totally agree with you. I mean, of course.
I thought you had because of the earlier comment. I didn't know how to interpret it, I guess.
No, it's like what I meant with doing tons of research while going in. It's just like League will not be the game mode for everyone.
Right.
It won't.
But some people will never discover if it's the game mode for them if they never try it out.
Right.
Exactly.
And the entry barrier, that was what I was arguing about. The entry barrier to trying out League should be lower. Then you get in, then you play a couple of matches, maybe 10 or 20 matches, and then you notice, okay, this isn't my thing. I just rather do unranked stuff and have fun, and it's great. Or you discover, man, I am made for this. I want to get better. And then you actually, start reading on God guides or start reading on Conquest guides and just like trying to research, watch streamers, watch pro players, what are they doing, stuff like that. But a lot of people, especially girls, feel the entry barrier is too high. So we should just lower the entry barrier. Beyond that, I completely agree on what you said.
Okay.
And I also have a word to say about that. To rise up in League's Conquest or ranked in League of Legends or whatever the equivalent is in Dota, you got to play the game. And by that, I mean play it a lot. It's like if you play a lot, you dedicate yourself to learning a game, and you stay dedicated, I have a saying, the cream always rises to the top. It doesn't matter how many bad teams, bad players you get matched up with. If you are putting in the time and effort, you will rise. The mathematics, probability, guys. You cannot possibly be paired with that many bad teams in a row. Eventually, you will get paired with players who are either neutral or good, and you will rise up. You will get those wins. You just gotta stay dedicated. And not a lot of players, whether they're male or female, have that dedication.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same sort of core concepts for the Conquest League carry over from my experience from League of Legends. I had played I played only one league match in Conquest, and that was and I haven't played anymore because I'm still getting the feel for how Conquest works. But between League of Legends and SMITE, I've played over 1,000 games, I think, most of them on the 5v5 format. And I won my only Conquest League match so far. And I guess for male or female gamers, like the three most important concepts that I learned in League of Legends, it was position, vision, and matchups. Those are the three most important things in Conquest League as well. If you can't see what's going on the map, then you're screwed. If you're in the wrong spot at the wrong time, you're screwed. Because a lot of those kills that people get in the professionals are decided by pixels, by frames, by steps, and
by milliseconds.
And I honestly think a lot of it's luck. I don't think there's a lot of professional players that spend a lot of their time studying frame by frame how things work. I honestly don't think there's a lot of them that do that at all. And then matchups, and I think that's the one thing that HiRez absolutely should touch on. If it's like a brief 2 or 3 minute video, 3 minutes per video series, to get people introduced to how the league works, talk about matchups, because in solo, especially with solo lane and duo lane too, duo lane compositions, that will change in season 2, obviously. But I think the solo lane matchups will generally stay about the same, because there's a difference between a mage fighting a bruiser and a bruiser fighting a fighter or whatever. I don't know what they call them I don't know what they call the subdivisions of solo laners in SMITE. But that's how it worked in League.
And I love what you brought up about, frames and, milliseconds and luck.
Pixels.
Yes, there is a natural form of luck in any form of competition. Yeah, I might say competitive gaming. In competition,
Fire Emblem.
Yeah, Fire Emblem. Especially Fire Emblem. In, anything that's competitive, it's luck, because you cannot account for every single possible factor, and you can't exactly read their mind. It's like you make a decision and your opponent makes a decision, and you don't know what your opponent's decision is going to be unless you're a mind reader, so you don't know how your decision will match up with his decision. So that's a natural form of luck right there.
That's what HiRez should do.
50-50s, mix-ups. You hear these terms a lot in fighting games. They apply to SMITE as well. You don't know. It's like some things, in some situations, you have to guess what the opponent's going to do. Is he going to use his jump, or is he going to just move to the side? No, actually, let's make this even simpler. Is he going to move to the right or the left? And I got a raw ultimate.
Yes.
Yeah. That is an example of natural luck right there.
Raw and Vulcan ults are just so fun to get blind.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, and I also want to talk about the whole pros. Do they actually study the frame data? Coming from a competitive Smash Brothers background, and I definitely think this can relate to MOBAs.
Okay.
Some pro players, they actually do take the time to study moves frame by frame. They know how many frames it takes to do a jab. They know how many frames it takes to put up a shield and whatnot. You can apply this to fighting games too, like Street Fighter. In fact, fighting gamers call this practice of studying frame data and combos and whatnot hitting the lab. You know, like, I'm gonna hit the lab, I'm gonna find out how many frames is this, can I get away with this, can I pull this combo off, etc., etc.
Mhm.
Yeah, some pros take that scientific approach, while other pros, they take a more instinctual approach. Like, they play the game so much, they kind of, like, feel out the timings, they, like, focus on the visual cues, like, oh, this, like, projectile comes out at this moment. Like, I'm just, like, they're just focusing on feel and image rather than raw frames. It's like a more, it's less of a mathematical approach and more of a audio-visual, emotional approach. Some pros do, but pretty much all pros in fighting games, and I would argue MOBAs, do have a firm understanding of their characters' frame data, whether it's scientifically or more abstractly.
Right, and I think with the fighting genre, there's a higher ratio of people who actually go before they fight, study in detail how things work, like the frames, for example, versus the MOBA genre, where I think it's a lot more players that instinctually know based on repetition how each scenario is going to play out, and investigation too. The same with League of Legends and Smite. Ward placement. One thing that I learned really interesting: the dragon pit area in League of Legends. There's actually a spot that you can hit a post where if you place a ward, it will actually place the ward over the wall. And I'm sure there's places on Smite's Conquest that have the same effect too.
Mm-hmm.
But less often Smite, because you can actually use your mouse and move how far or how short distance away from you the ward's placed. You can actually see the silhouette of the ward being placed.
Yeah.
In Smite.
Excuse me a second.
Yep.
I've been holding that back for some time now. Didn't want to interrupt you guys.
I think how far have we deviated from the main topic?
It's still cool. It's all
Still
the
cool.
league stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
and I think that's actually pretty that might actually be indicative of, honestly, what can be said about the whole women issue in SMITE League play. Is we've eventually devolved into just analytical discussion on gameplay and community building, and we've begun talking less and less about the gender issue, because it honestly is not heavily a gender issue, just the same thing as it is with other online competitive communities. It's the people within them, how they treat other people, that's really the core issue.
Yeah.
Maybe we should move to one of the other hot topics.
Well, some people basically suggested a few things to improve the situation and or to have more girls join. If you guys would be interested.
Yeah, actually, can we talk? It's probably going to be a brief discussion, but talk briefly about there was a few responses that talked about how the female goddesses are portrayed visually in the game.
Yes.
And I know there's a lot of different opinions on that.
Mm-hmm.
So whoever wants to start with that.
I would like to start.
Yes.
Please.
Let me start off by saying, I think the vast majority of Smite goddesses are hot.
Mm-hmm.
I am a young man. I would say that these goddesses are designed with me in mind. They're designed with a young male. Probably, actually, most likely even younger, like, a teenager. And, I like the way most of them look. I think a lot of them are hot. There's nothing wrong with making a sexy character. Nothing wrong with them wearing revealing clothing. There's nothing wrong with that in and of itself. Now, the problem comes when you see a form of uniformity among them. A little too much. Like, almost all of the women have really, really, unrealistically tiny waists.
Yeah.
Now, they're still sexy despite that, but I find that a little distracting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, these women would look even better if they had a few inches on their waist. That's me. And going even further than that, some women should have different builds from each other. It's like, if you like closely compare a lot of the goddesses, the vast majority of them would probably be the same height and weight.
Yeah.
And that's not cool. That's not beautiful. There's no artistic value to having everybody be the same size. In a game that markets itself as having a diverse roster of characters, there's not a lot of diversity in female builds.
And that might have something to do with the graphics design or the character design staff, whoever's in charge of that. There might not be a lot of diverse mindsets involved with making those character designs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd argue we can have male characters like Apollo, who we can really compare to the really sexualized female characters. Like, I'm just gonna pull one, Neith, for example. Like, she's basically wearing nothing. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
And Apollo, like with his bare breasts, and he looks hot. What am I to say? But we also have a god like Marcus, who, I mean, I'm not gonna try to insult the guy, but he looks really heavy. Okay, so it's like, but it's cool. I mean, he enjoys his life. He drinks a lot, and he likes hitting people with his
chicken.
And there is no female goddess that you could compare from the build and also from the mindset. There's no I don't know enough mythology to know if there's actually a goddess that's about drinking and feasting and stuff like that. But I mean, even if it wasn't, I feel like some of the goddesses, like for example Freya, they would actually, in their mythology, wear full armor, and not this bikini armor thing we're having with her. That's just one example that comes to mind right now. It's just like, it's okay if like some of the goddesses, like I could imagine Avalix actually being portrayed the way she's portrayed in the game, with not that much of clothing. But like I said, with Freya, why isn't she wearing full armor?
Very impractical.
Yeah.
Actually, I would argue very practical.
No. I'm saying her current character design is very impractical.
Right.
Yeah.
This I need to find it. There's one comic. It was actually related to role-playing games.
I know what you mean.
But basically, there's like there was this bunch of women in full armor with swords, and then they encounter an Amazon who's basically wearing this bra made of mail and stuff, and it just like kill tents. It's like, okay, let's go and find some real enemies to kill, because basically this portrayal of women warriors or Amazons is basically wearing bikini armor. It's hard, but it's not actually
practical.
Practical and B even
realistic.
Yeah,
accurate.
Someone didn't come to mind. So I'm not arguing. Let's take all the hot goddesses away. Just take the goddesses where it makes sense and put it
make it
realistic
contextual.
and don't try to over sexualize everything.
Well, to be fair,
Yes.
it's a lot of the goddesses were even less in the actual lore, so it's actually good that HiRez actually put some clothes on them, at least. In terms of, at least, I can say something in terms of Roman and Greek goddesses. The statues you see of those goddesses are usually more, I'll say, plump. Like, usually they have wider hips and a bit belly and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the counterparts in Smite, they're all thin.
Yeah.
They're all thin.
It's like, especially goddesses like Nox, as I've said before in the group chat, they dropped the ball on her. They really did.
Yeah.
She's this medieval kind of woman, and they used to have more meat on them bones. So I actually kind of hoped and or expected that they'd, give her a bit more hips, a bit more waist, a bit everything. And actually, the card, at first it looked like she had more meat, but when I saw the modeling game, I was like, wait.
Yeah.
Or, as Nima and me have talked in private about already, goddesses like Athena would definitely work out and have muscles. Where are those muscles?
Yep.
Yep. I agree. It's like, if you're gonna have a goddess being like the guardian or warrior role, or I could argue even assassin, they should be more athletically built than, the mages, like Aphrodite.
Yep.
I wanna buff Freya.
Yeah.
Hey, that would be cool too, quite frankly. That, like, she's like the queen of the Valkyries, man.
Yeah, and I honestly think they need to change a lot of the default. Like, they need a redesign for a lot of the goddesses, and not just another skin. Like, oh, you want a buff goddess? Let's just make another skin for a melt skin. Like, no, I don't think it's gonna cut it. And
if we can have a buff mage like Zeus, we can have a buff Freya.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Also,
And
yes.
well, I was going to say, when I was deciding last year to do cosplay as Apollo.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as toned as Apollo, obviously, but my body type fit him, and he was my favorite god to play as on Smite at the time. And when my sister was designing the cosplay, this was her first real exposure to the game itself, and so she looked through the female characters, and she made a few observations. First of all, she doesn't have the same body type as any of them, with the exception of one. And it's also the only goddess on Smite who doesn't have pretty much anything too revealing, and that's Artemis.
Yeah.
Yep.
Happens to be the sister of Apollo. We're brother and sister, haha. But she said Artemis was honestly the only character she could cosplay, because she doesn't have the same bodies as all those other ones. So, and she wouldn't want to be embarrassed or picked on because she didn't fit their mold. So that's another deterrent. Is okay, it's not just the playing the game part of it, but there's probably a lot of female gamers out there who are heavier set or don't have the same curves as everyone else does on the game.
Yep, that would be me. I can cosplay. Well, not Bacchus, but...
No, don't even start with that. Come on.
You don't even look remotely like him.
I'm just kidding.
You don't have the beard for it.
Yeah,
oh, shit,
exactly.
I don't have a beard. No, but it's true. In terms of cosplaying, I'm screwed. I can't cosplay any of them. Well, maybe in terms of chest, but everything else is like...
Yeah, and I think the even worse part about it is... And I don't think HiRez is intentionally attacking women or anything, but if you see some of their events, some of the tournaments and conventions they go to, they have a consistent cast of people, with the Atlanta ones mainly, but they have a consistent cast of characters that are the perfect fit for the way they portray those characters.
Yeah.
And so they know it. We had this talk on Skype in private earlier, but they know exactly what they're doing with these designs. It's not as if they aren't researching the lore and the pictures and the sculptures and the statues from ancient times. I mean, they know what they're doing. So, and they can see the heavier set part. Like, well, for today's audience, that's not only not going to sell the brand or sell the idea of playing the free game, but then if you introduce a heavier set goddess whose focus isn't on her chest but on everything else, then people won't play the character. I think that's what they're afraid of, is, the character won't be played, so it's not going to be a worthwhile venture.
I'm going to issue a challenge to HiRez right now. Give us a female warrior. We currently don't have a female warrior right now, ever since Nemesis was reclassed into an assassin.
I know, right?
Give us a female warrior. Give her some muscle mass. Don't skimp on it. Don't skimp on it. Don't just give her 3 pounds. More like 20. More like 20 pounds of muscle over the average Smite female.
Yeah, really?
And I mean, they have
She won't-
plenty
she
of
won't
female
look-
warrior goddesses already, too.
Yeah.
Neith is a warrior goddess.
She technically is.
Yes.
And you know what's
She's not the
funny?
warrior class, but yeah.
You know what's funny? A lot of people fear that if a woman has muscle, she'll look like a man. And I say,
Right.
bullshit! Unless a woman specifically takes, steroids or, like, heavy amounts of, like, human growth hormone and whatnot, she won't look like a man. If she just lifts weights and does exercise, she will not look like a man. She will be strong. She will be buff, but she will still look like a woman. She
Yeah.
will still have the woman's figure.
Mm-hmm.
You know who they should make their next female warrior goddess?
Mhm.
Greek goddess Eris. She's the goddess of chaos, discord, and strife.
Oh yeah, a
And
lot of people
it's-
have been asking for her actually.
Yeah, and she is not she's not a skinny waist girl. She's definitely a lot heavier set than others, and she's also the daughter of Zeus. So then she's gonna be freaking.
They're gonna turn her into one. Stick.
Yep. Don't turn her into a stick. That would be chaotic. They introduce her and they actually make an accurate design.
Actually, since I am a girl and stuff, on this topic of sparingly clothed and whatnot.
No, we can't hear from you. We can't hear from... Only men can talk. Only us guys. We're the leaders. We talk.
I'm the leader. Shut up.
Patriarchy.
Personally, I'm not really bothered that the goddesses are so hot. And not gonna lie, I tapped up. But what it makes it for me is if a girl looks hot and she still has a personality, then it's fine. But if it's just hot and nothing else, that's where I have a problem.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's like, good, this is a fighting game pretty much. There's technically not much personality in that sense, but they're still lower, so that gives them a bit of personality, I suppose. I don't mind the over-sexualizing so much, especially because there's game franchises like Tomb Raider and Bayonetta, and there's a lot of girls who enjoy those game franchises because those girls kick ass. They're
Yes.
just like, but the diversity, that's what I've already pointed out in a thread on the Smite forums before. First of all, I'd like less human-looking gods, because every freaking god looks human. And when they turned Baka into what he is right now, I was so disappointed too, because he was this little cute monster, and now he's this human-looking Assassin's Creed parody or whatever. So, less looking humans would be great. And also, different shapes. I'm also wondering if there's a more darker-skinned goddess, maybe, even. That would be interesting.
Pretty sure Kali was supposed to be, and then they made her pale.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell happened there. But yeah, more muscles, wider waist, especially on the Greek and Roman goddesses.
Mm-hmm.
So, because you mentioned Afro.
Yeah.
She's Venus in the Roman counterpart. She had a bit of a belly and a bit of waist. So, it makes
I
sense.
think Afro would look hotter with 10 extra pounds.
Right? Not just on the chest.
Yeah, not on the chest. She's already good on the chest. She doesn't need any on the chest.
Yep. But that would be interesting. Also in terms of cosplay.
Yeah. One other thing, this goes a bit on a tangent, I will admit. But in American rap and hip-hop music, this is a huge problem about women being addressed as bitches.
Oh, yeah.
And this is one really, really great song. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not the biggest fan of rap music, personally, or hip-hop music. But this is one song from Lupe Fiasco. It's called Bitch Bad. And I encourage everyone, even if you don't enjoy this type of music, give it a listen and actually pay attention to the lyrics. It's a really, 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 really great song, and pointing one problem with this whole mentality we're in, and that also chimes it into the scantily clad, Barbie-looking goddesses, is that people who grow up, and there's a lot of adolescents playing MOBAs, see those kind of female representations and think it's normal. Think women should look like that, or in regards of the rap music, think women should be addressed as bitches, because I'm not saying every rapper, but it's commonplace for rappers to address women as bitches. And like I said, I don't want to go too much on a tangent here, but seriously, check that video out. And I think the scantily clad women aren't helping the issue.
Yeah. Pretty much. There's nothing I can add to this.
Is there any other specific topics you need to address outside of that?
There's one more suggestion they made on that thread. They suggested a women-only tournament.
Absolutely not.
No.
Nope.
Just no.
Nope.
I think that's pretty simple. And I think that I can call back to the opening statement I made earlier in the podcast about athletics versus esports.
Yes.
Athletics, yes. And there are too many good reasons for having men and women separate divisions in a lot of sports. Simply because of just the physical genetic issues. Like, women are physically more often than not more fragile than men. And so if you stick a 130-pound woman in an American football game, she's probably going to break some bones by the end of the game.
Yeah.
It's probably going to happen. But in esports is like someone said earlier, there's a great phrase for it. Esports is a plain simple meritocracy. What you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. If you're a good player, you're going to rise up and you're going to do well. If you're a bad player, you're going to be brought down. And so do good, learn the game, learn how to play it, and just get better.
Ideally, that's the way it should be. We shouldn't have to, hear about female gamers not wanting to get in because of the social atmosphere. Guys don't have to worry about it as much because it's more favorable to them.
Yeah.
And they can more easily focus on getting good at the game, like Tommy said.
That's true.
I'm going to say something really controversial. You all will probably disagree with me, and that's fine with me.
I love controversy. Go for it.
Like I said in my opening statement, there's a lot of stuff we can actually try and learn from the real world. And something that is heavily discussed in Germany, where I live, is to put minimum amount, like a percentage amount of women that have to be in CEO positions in companies. It's like saying, for example, I'm just pulling a number here, at least 30% of the CEOs or managers on companies or bosses have to be women. And it's a big discussion of turning that into a law that actually requires company to fulfill a certain quota of women in management positions. And like I said, it might not be a great idea. I'm just going to pull it out there for discussion. What about having for example, you can't really implement that in League, but for the SMITE World Championship, just putting it out there, having each team required to have at least one female player.
Ooh.
Well then.
You know what the first thing's going to happen is?
They're going to blame the female player, I know.
Yeah.
No. A lot of professional teams have alternates on their team. And so female players will, in droves, get shoved into the alternate slot just to fulfill the quota. And I don't know what the exact rules are for actual SMITE Pro League play, but you could essentially just have 9 players on your actual team, and 5 of them are playing on the main team, and 4 of them are alternates, and you put that extra alternate in that slot. So that's the first issue.
What if they require for her to play at least one match or something? So she can't just be on the bench?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't think I have any opinion on that part specifically. I just don't think having a quota of any sort is going to be any type of viable solution for the issue. Mandating that teams put a certain player on their team and mandating that they play. First of all, if we just take out the gender issue out of the equation, imagine if you were supposed to put one man by default on the team in at least one game in a split or in a tournament, and they had to play one game. And everyone else on the team is of generally equal skill level. They've played with each other often enough that they have that chemistry built up, and then they have to insert that one person into their game, and that jeopardizes their whole tournament. I don't think you can reasonably ask any professional team to just meet that quota just because they want to improve one part of the gaming community, because then that jeopardizes their whole mission.
There's your answer, Mikey.
Yeah, I mean, I was really expecting that answer, actually. I'm not honestly surprised, because you see, this kind of the same. This is kind of mirroring the part of the discussion against the quota in management position in big companies, where they argue, yeah, well, it's like we don't care if it's a man or woman. We just want the better person for the job, basically. And that's what you're arguing too. It's like, we have this team composition, we know this 5 people play the best, and we don't care if it's male or female, just like we want these 5 people to play. And what the quotas are supposed to do, and I agree with you that it would jeopardize some teams. Like, for example, the current pro teams, if they had to suddenly have to include a female member into the roster, it would put them at a disadvantage. But I mean, it would be probably an equal disadvantage for all the teams, since none of the teams had female players, at least so far as my knowledge. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But what actually the people who are for this argue is, we just need the quota. We will get to a point where we won't need the quota, but we need the quota now to establish women in those positions. They say, if we don't get women actually experience management positions or experience playing in pro teams in tournaments, it's difficult to get there. It's basically just to kickstart the trend, the development of female competitive players or female CEO members and management members. And like I said, I'm not saying it's the right thing. I'm just saying it's something that should be discussed.
I have something to say about what both of you said, both you, Mikey, and Tommy. Yeah, both of you make a good point. Having a quota does interfere with the meritocracy that MOBAs are so well known for, as well as esports in general. But at the same time, I totally get where Mikey's coming from. It is not a level playing field for women right now. It is not favorable for a woman to enter esports. It is much more favorable for a male, and these quotas, if they implemented correctly, would level the playing field, so to speak. It's like, let's get things back to a neutral environment so we can have a true meritocracy for all genders. I get that. So I'm going to suggest something a little more in the middle. Rather than having a hard quota, or no quota at all, I think this would be a job for whoever handles community outreach at HiRez. I think there should be surgically, let's call them surgical outreach campaigns, where HiRez reaches out to prominent female gamers of other games. They make some videos about about women who actually play Smite right now, and use them as an inspiration for females who don't currently play Smite to jump into the fray.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, let's level the playing field, but let's not make things hard and fast. Let's not make this an ironclad rule that you must have one woman on your team or you could not play Smite Pro League. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's the best way to go about it, but it certainly is one way.
Mm-hmm.
Here's an example a concrete example actually of how quotas are being implemented in competitive sports. There's an amendment called Title IX in you know about Title IX? Yeah. So it basically says you can't discriminate based on sex in collegiate athletics in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know all the different nuances of the amendment, but basically each university, if they're receiving federal funding or funding from the NCAA to sponsor certain sports, then they have to make an as equal an opportunity as possible for women to participate in those same sports, with the exceptions being football or American football, because there's not a Division I sport for women for that sport. So. And there's a lot of universities, even major universities, like the University of Maryland, I think had to cut 14 different sports programs, or it might have been 8. Yeah, it was 8 different sports programs. I think 5 of them were men's sports and 3 of them were women's sports, simply because those teams could not produce enough private funding for themselves to continue competing. Because if you can't meet their Title IX requirements and meet their quotas, then they remove the funding for that team, and you have to raise the money yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it, and it's a lot more prevalent with smaller universities because their athletic budgets just simply aren't large enough to sustain all their sports. So I know it's a whole different thing with esports because there's not a huge cost with assembling a team of people and getting sponsored and going out and competing. It's not that big of a cost, but it's just. Don't know. I still don't think it's reasonable to. The compromise that PK came up with might help, but I still don't think there's any right for anybody to say who should be on what team. That's like saying that I played on a competitive League of Legends team for a couple of years, and we had 3 different teams within our team. We had an A team, which was our highest ranked team, the B team, and the C team. And we kind of had a promotion relegation type system. So if you had a team outperform the other one and outrank them, then they move up to becoming the A team, kind of like how other professional teams do it. And we had one woman on our team, and she was our support. She wasn't a support because she was a woman. She was a support because she played the role better than everybody else, because everyone else sucked at it. And the reason we didn't do well is because the other team was more skilled. If someone came up to the A team and said, "Hey, you guys are really good, but we have this rule where you need to have one woman play on your team, or else you cannot compete in this tournament." And so we only have one woman out of our team of 15 people. So we have to move our female support up into the A team in order to meet their quota standards.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the big issue, is she has not played any games with the team. We've scrimmaged against each other, but she has not played any games with the team. Mm-hmm. And so she really, that takes them down from a gold or diamond level team to probably a bronze team, because they just simply don't know how each person works, how they communicate, what their personalities are like. And so to expect that from very professional teams to meet that standard like that, it's kind of unreasonable.
Well, I agree with what you said on a basis. Is like, if you implement it basically from one day to the other, then there will stuff like that happening. But imagine a scenario. Imagine this being the standard already since years. Like, whenever you get into the competitive scene, it's like, oh yeah, this is standard. There has to be a female player. And actually, teams build up that way around, and like for example, just to say in your case, when that rule got introduced and your female support had to move up to the A team, and then they had to relearn to be a team together again.
Mhm.
But yes, in the beginning it would have been weird and maybe disadvantageous, but in the long term, I think, well, in that scenario, that wouldn't be as big of an issue anymore. Yes, the initial changes, it would cause turmoil, I agree. It will be a lot of people who will be upset because of that, and I do see your point. But in the long scheme, I think that won't be as big of an issue.
Well,
Except
Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead, Grazi.
some people just simply don't mix. So
Well, yeah, but I mean, you can always say like, yeah, but that was a great team when introducing a female into them, and then maybe they need to do all new teams that mix well together. Obviously, you can't just take a person and put it into a team and expect it to work.
yeah.
It's like it won't work even if you put a different male person in there. I'm just saying that all the issues that you're bringing up are just issues that are at the beginning, but not issues that prolong.
Mhm.
So, do you? This might be a loaded question, but do you feel like it's okay for a developer to basically tell you who is allowed to be on your team and who isn't?
Well, yeah, it's a bit of a loaded question. The thing is, like I said, it's like how PK said really brilliantly.
Yep.
It levels out the playing field. Right now, it is an unfair advantage for males to be competitive. Putting that requirement in the long run, like in the beginning, obviously, like the female players might not be as experienced. The female players might not fit too well into the teams at the beginning. But if we like, this is the big question: do we truly want equal opportunities for female players to be competitive? Then we have to give them the push now. And yes, it's gonna be consequences. There are gonna be drawbacks of giving them that push. People who are better players, who fit better in the teams, will have to step back. It will suck for them. But the big question is, what do we want? Do we really want equal opportunities for female players? If the answer is yes, then it is at least something we should consider.
I don't think that is what you're suggesting. This meeting this one female quota. That's exactly the opposite, in my opinion, of what we're trying to accomplish. If you want equal, we're using the word equal opportunity for women to compete in online competitive gaming as much as men. If you want it to be equal, then the opportunity has to be equal all across the board. And if you're telling teams that they need to have one female on each team, that knocks off one man from the team.
In that case,
and therefore there's no longer an equal opportunity, but there is not an equal opportunity.
In that case, you can modify the rule as each team has to have at least 2 genders competing in it. That like this, you just don't allow only male teams and you don't allow only female teams, and then you don't have like, oh, but the female got in because of the rule. It's just like, okay, no, you have to have mixed gender teams. Make it like that, then you don't have that issue.
Okay, and if we do it that way, then there can absolutely be no criticism if this plays out for, let's just say it plays out for a couple of years, and we have 2 SMITE World Championships, and we have a bunch of different regional and international tournaments played, where the cream that rises to the crop still ends up being all male teams. I'm not saying it would in this system, but if it so happens that the only thing you see is all male teams, then it's no longer the issue of, okay, we need to meet this quota. It's there's either not enough female players playing, or they just simply, there's something that's simply keeping, not necessarily keeping them from getting better, but they themselves, there's something that they have to do to improve. and that's an individual by individual basis, and that's not a gender issue.
I still feel there's a bigger issue here.
Yeah, I really don't think it's gender specific. I think it has a lot to do with ultimately morality, how everyone treats each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what our view on life is, and there are just too many people in MOBAs that simply could give a crap about the other person. They're there to have their own fun, to have their own experience good, and if someone else ruins it, then F you.
Yeah.
You know? And we've seen that too many times on, post game chat. Like I even that whole night, that night when every single Neath was a troll, like I said, and then we had this was a male player, guys. So we had the Neath come in post chat. I'm like, this guy's a troll. I mean, his KDA wasn't any different than any other person that was terrible in the game. But then he goes on post chat and validates my assumption and starts calling everyone dicks.
Yeah.
So
I remember that.
I mean, you can't get rid of all the trolls, but there's got to be a massive push just by everyone in general to just start being kinder and loving one another.
Mm-hmm.
And unless everyone's moral compasses are aligned the right way, then that's not going to happen, and we're just going to see more dicks.
It's like we said before. In fact, I think we can all agree to this. Even though HiRez isn't our parents, they can still do quite a lot, just not everything, to improve the social and moral situation.
Mm-hmm.
And we've outlined many different things they could do. Hell, for all we know, they're probably working on some of them even as we speak, or they have something else in mind that may be even better. We don't know, but what we do know is they can do a lot about it. They just can't do everything, because at the end of the day, morality is up to the person. Like, you could throw all of these external factors at a person, you could throw all of these teachings, you could throw all of this advice, you could throw all of these images, but the person receiving all this stuff, they still gotta make a choice about how they want to act.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it ends, man. That's where it is. You cannot completely control a person unless you have some sort of brainwashing device.
Oh God, no.
No. So, I feel like we're kind of coming to our closing statements, and if I could wish for one thing, and tell basically, if I could walk into HiRez offices and basically tell them to do one thing, then I would tell them to give us the tools to build up a better community, and that would be mainly the karma system and maybe even the mentoring system.
Mm-hmm.
What would your guys' wishes would be?
I would second some type of mentoring system, and I would call it play off like the Christian or the religious theme, and maybe call it a discipleship program, because like gods have people who are disciples who try to teach other people about their faith or whatever. Maybe call it like discipleship, where an experienced player who's respected in the community takes on a person and teaches them how to respond to different situations, how they should react with players, what they should or should not do, and start educating people. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that would be up for doing something like that. But with a lot of communities that have millions, with millions of players playing, there's probably a very small percentage of it. So I don't know what kind of goals HiRez has in mind for something like this, where they could try to get a certain percentage of the community to promote this whatever initiative they come up with. Honestly, I hope they're thinking of something like this. I think that would be very, 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 very positive. Something like a mentorship program.
Well, spoilers, I do plan to link Stu to this video, so.
Hi, Stu.
Yeah.
Hey, Stu.
I'm applying to be a web dev intern. Hire me. promo.
I know you like the Tar Heels, Stu. I'm from North Carolina. I know you like the Tar Heels.
So yeah, PK, what would you wish to
Was
HiRez
Tommy
be?
done?
I think
Yeah,
so.
I'm done.
Okay. If I had to describe what I wanted from HiRez in one sentence, it would be this. Clean up the community. And that one sentence encompasses not only the stuff you guys were talking about, but also something that I feel like we haven't elaborated on yet. And I think that HiRez should adopt a more zero-tolerance policy
Mm-hmm.
against trolls and inflammatory language.
Yeah.
Like if you got people telling women that I hope they get raped, or you have people treating, gay, lesbian, or transgender gamers badly, if you got anyone treating anyone badly with extreme venom that is like the slop you hear on Call of Duty,
Mm-hmm.
they don't belong here. Get them the hell out of our community.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sounds harsh, but sometimes you just gotta be firm and swing the banhammer. You gotta do that. It's
Yep.
like, there are plenty of games out there. Maybe Smite isn't for you, man. Maybe Smite brings up so many negative feelings within you that you shouldn't play it.
Maybe you can play Tribes Ascend or play
Go
one of
back
the
to
other games.
LOL.
Or go back
Yeah.
to oh my gosh.
I know this goes against, traditional business sense, that you should try to please as many people as you can. But seriously, HiRez, you can't win them all. Don't try to please everybody. If some people are just gonna whine, complain, and hate on people, kick them out.
Mm-hmm.
And to add on that, see, I know it's kind of a conclusion statement, but see, they've already done a very great job. They've distinguished themselves from other developers by being very, very invested and involved in the community already.
Mm-hmm.
So just going that extra mile, just to getting rid of all the negative, toxic players, just don't worry about how many you ban, because when they see that, oh, you're vetting people that shouldn't be there, then people will be more encouraged to want to participate in something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Get the toxic people out of our community. If some people just want to hate, great. They can go do their hateful shit and, just whine somewhere else. There are plenty of places that'll hear them out. Like Reddit. But seriously, though, there shouldn't be hate in any online community. All I'm saying is, HiRez should realize it can't please everyone, and it should ban the people who are clearly harming the community. That's all I gotta say.
Mm-hmm. Me, huh?
Yeah, it's you, Kitty.
Hi.
Hi.
I would like, definitely a karma/honor system, as I've told them a bunch of months ago in that feedback form, because that would definitely help me keep track of who is, good and who not so much. Maybe you could even sort with what kind of people you want to play. If they have karma smaller than so and so much, I don't want anything to do with them or something. I don't know. Point is, I want a karma and an honor system. Maybe a teacher system, just for more interaction in the community in general. Because there's no global chat unless you're done with a match. And the one for looking for group.
Yeah.
That you can activate with a little plus in your tab. I would definitely dig a more, bigger variety on the goddesses in terms of body builds. Also in terms of cosplaying, because a lot of girls like cosplaying, and if you can actually cosplay your favorite game character, it's just such a bonding experience. So that would be neat. I would cosplay Apollo if I could, but well.
We'll make it happen.
We'll make it happen. I'll gender bend him. No, seriously, some girls that have a build like Mercury, who is so realistic, I love it. Just the more bulky nature and stuff. That'd be great. I definitely want a tutorial series for how to fudge to play League, or just tips on how you play League. Kind of like, again, what Trendkill does. Hint, hint, Trendkill. Maybe you want to do that. Maybe. When you're done with your Know Your Enemy, which is a great series, by the way. Thank you so much. I learned a lot. And maybe it would be cool to have... Well, this can sound mean, maybe. But a, better female cast in terms of streamers. Because a lot of those streamers are they're basically negatively feeding girl stereotypes.
They're showing their boobs too much.
Yes, that. It's not gonna help our community. Please, if you're watching this, if you're a girl and if you're a streamer, it's not gonna help our community and the way guys treat us if you have a stream where you're wearing a top with a cleavage down to your belly button. It's not gonna help. It's also not gonna help if you go and curse and you get into a talk with those guys, and I quote, this is what I've heard from a girl before: "It doesn't matter, I'm a girl." Please don't. Just don't. And it also doesn't just help if you're just gonna be drunk and you're just gonna try to talk like one of those guys, like kind of fake-ish. I know there's girls who are very tomboyish like me who just talk that way, but then there's the ones that kind of just fake it by getting drunk. And I'm like, I don't care if I play bad, I'm drunk, whatever. And I'm just like, no, please. HiRez Kelly is good.
Yes, I agree.
She's good.
And,
so more people like her.
You know what's crazy? Crazy? She's actually good at the game. So people, focus on that. It's like, yeah, she's an attractive woman. I'm just going to say that right now. She really is. But the main things that attract me to her stream, I'm attracted to her stream by her personality and her actual skill at the game.
Yeah.
I wish she would be at the main commentator's desk more too, because I know the grand finals for the Worlds, I didn't see her too much. It was mainly DM Brandon, who I'm not hating on Brandon and Dry Bear and everyone else. Like, you guys are solid, but
a girl in there would be great. I don't know. Yeah, that would help.
Would have been cool.
DM Brandon and Kelly, that would be a fun combination.
Lastly, pretty much what Nemo said. I wish they were more consequent with those reports they get, and I know they get a lot of reports, and there's especially a lot of butthurt people who report somebody because they quote unquote fed just because they played bad. I keep telling people you can't report somebody because they're playing bad because they're new to the game. Some people still do that. Actually, a lot of people.
Yeah.
It pisses me off. They should put a little disclaimer where that report window is. It's fucking annoying, mate. It's stupid. He fed. No, he didn't. He was just... This god was new. He didn't know how to play him. What the hell do you want?
Some people do feed because they're bad, though.
Well, yeah, but no, there's intentional feeding.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong if someone feeds because of their skill. Because let's be honest here, we were all bad starting out. Yeah. But yeah, intentional feeding,
Speak
like
for
Kitty
yourself.
said. Wow.
That was bad, though.
Wow. Are you saying that you're a feeder, Tommy?
You're a terrible player, Nemo. Why don't you uninstall?
You know what? I'm done with this community. I've had it. I'm gonna go join the women who are clearly turned off by this community because they had it right.
Oh, shots fired.
They had it right, man. You guys are freaking dicks.
I love you, HiRez.
Oh.
No wonder few women play this game, man.
Oh, seriously. I'd love if they take them fair. They should, I don't know, hire more people or do something because, they should have a zero tolerance thing. especially for stuff like, the raping or anything really. You shouldn't have to deal with this stuff.
One thing that I want to add to that, I recently reported a really, really rude comment on Facebook, and I thought I was done with it. But then some days later, I actually got like kind of a notification from Facebook. It's like, yeah, because of your report, we actually reviewed and deleted this comment. And what would probably be neat is to actually get some feedback that your player reports actually had an effect.
Yeah. That'd be...
So it's like, okay, so they looked at it, and or maybe not do it for each case, but maybe just give some general stats and be like, yeah, we've received so and so many reports. Out of those, we've decided to take actions on so and so many players. Just be a bit more transparent about what you're doing, so that we actually feel that those reports are doing anything. Because right now, I might as well report or not report. I don't feel like it's having an impact. So a bit of feedback, a bit of transparency, that would help, I think, already.
Yeah, that'd be neat. Because I don't know what the reports do in the end either. Like, if they do anything. I hope so.
Wait, we gotta figure out what's actually being done to clean up toxic influences like Power to Mario.
Yes.
In fact, I reported you already, Tommy. I reported you for telling me to uninstall.
I mean, I agree. I mean, we need to figure out some strategies to take care of all these toxic players like me.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
God, he's so
It's just, I'm just sick of it.
Good stuff. Yep. Also, only women's tournament? Hell no. That's dumb.
Yeah.
Right, I think we're droning on.
No, you think?
Yeah.
Alright, so...
Anything else? No?
Okay,
Yes.
you take it.
Yes. Yes,
Well-
there is one more thing.
Yes.
Okay.
There's one more thing. Dry Bear.
Yes.
Dry Bear. If you are watching this, please tell us. Are we ready to get the fire giant? No, I'm kidding.
Okay, anything else from you guys? No?
Killing spree.
Killing spree, yes. Village Act.
Mm-hmm.
DSI. Fire giant?
I hope Stu is gonna watch this. I hope this helps. I hope Trent might watch this. Or at least he sees that we have this.
In either case.
I feel like this discussion is maybe helping to, give some stones for a foundation into the right direction.
Yeah.
And also the comments people left on the thread Stu made.
Yeah.
I know people always say that nothing can be done and stuff, but I feel like this is a beginning. We should do something, and that's why I started making Watcher's Gift, not just to discuss patches, but also to discuss stuff like this. And again, thanks to Trent Kill for the inspiration. And yeah, I hope Stu likes this video if he sees it.
And one more thing.
Yes?
Going back to the quote, you can't please everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I totally understand if HiRez doesn't even implement, like, the suggestions that we're saying and the suggestions other people are saying, because they can't. It's not... It's unrealistic to expect 100% integration of the community's ideas, even if they're really good. But I hope they're listening. I hope they're taking it to heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Alright, so thank you guys for joining us. It has been a really, really interesting and pleasurable talk.
Yes.
So what?
So...
That's pretty much all we have to say.
Yes. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening for about 2 hours now. It's been a really interesting talk, and I hope that we could contribute at least a little bit to,
The issue with the girls.
yeah, to becoming a better community, I was going to say.
Same thing.
So, remember guys, it's all about fun. Play Smite to have fun.
Don't be a douche.
Don't be a douche. Just...
And keep watching Watcher's Gift.
Yes, definitely. Just have fun, enjoy yourself, and let go of all the hate.
And remember, if you build a good community, the girls will come.
Spike, Goradal.
Yes.
Thank you for having us on the podcast. And everybody watching or listening, if you would like to listen to more Watchers Gift podcasts, comment, rate, subscribe. And give that thumbs up on the little dislike thing. Give them a thumbs up.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me as well. It was definitely a pleasure doing it.
No problem. And anybody watching, if you want to see more of Name on Tommy, let us know. In the comments below.
Definitely. Alright. Bye all.
Bye!